When I was in manufacturing, I used to take staff to events, and there would be speeches and seminars, and I was always worried whether or not we were going to get our money's worth. Sometimes people would come back excited, but they didn't know what to do. So when people attend my presentations, I want to make sure they get their money's worth. They will not only know what to do, but also how to do, and they'll be motivated to want to do the new strategies. My clients will certainly get their money's worth. I customize every presentation. I have a long list of questions that I ask every meeting planner so I can tailor the content to meet the objectives of the event.
Now, if you want people to change, you've got to sell these 4 Ps, a purpose. There's a good reason why. The status quo isn't cutting it. I mean, if you're a manager, if you're a supervisor, they're managing and supervised. People need to know. And then you got to make sure they picture or have a demonstration of or can see what it would be like if they did it differently. And then you got to make sure you have a plan. We'll follow up in a couple of days. We'll follow up in a couple of weeks. We'll follow up in a couple of months. Seems pretty well thought out. And that's the part they need to play. You sell those 4 Ps, people will follow you through fire.
And then some people join the anti-change crowd. They decide simply not to change. But I learned this a long time ago growing up on the farm. It's a lot easier to ride the horse in the direction it's headed. Now, I don't know if you've ever been on a horse and wants to go back to the barn. It's going back to the barn. It's an 800-pound animal. And the more you pull on that bit and bridle, the more you slap it on the ears, the more likely it's going to scrape you off on a tree or the barn door on the way in. So sometimes when our industry changes, we're just going to have to ride the horse in the direction it's headed. My presentations have relevant information. I deliver that information in a humorous way, and I want to make sure there's low-risk, interactive participation so people have the courage to put the ideas into practice when they get back to work. Show interest. Number 4, avoid distracting actions. What are some of the distracting actions you've noticed in other people when they're listening to you? What do? Look away. That would be distracting. What else? Roll their eyes. Yes, that's distracting. Some people run their fingers through their hair. Some people pull on their ears. Some people check their text messages or cell phone messages or email. Some people take phone calls. No, I'm not busy right now. You're like, what? In the conversation, what are you taking phone calls? We all have a distracting action. Find out what yours is. Ask the people you work with. They know. Ask the people you live with. They'll tell you. Then stop it. A couple of thousand books in my personal library. So when the meeting planners or my clients tell me what their challenges are, I go to work and dig through the research to find the most practical strategies that they can put into practice right away. With the rough and tumble world of work, having negative thoughts and feelings is unavoidable. However, if we understand and expand our emotional intelligence capabilities, we'll be able to overcome the negative thoughts and feelings and learn to act in a way that reflects our values rather than what we are feeling at the moment. So let's jump into the workbook and consider these concepts and build the skills we need for developing and sustaining emotional intelligence. I think when a speaker can connect with the audience member, that audience member can connect with the content and apply it in their personal and professional lives. Spiritual fatigue, and that's a sense of hopelessness, helplessness, thoughts of escape, running away. You don't like your coworkers anymore, you don't like your clients anymore, you're sick of it. And I think the best way to tell you that spiritual fatigue is if you're watching one of those TV programs that has those stories about people that have run away to another part of the country for 5 or 10 years and none of their family and friends can find them, and as you're sitting there watching that show, you're wondering if you could do that, if you could just run away for 5 or 10 years. Just take cash, take all the cash you can find. Credit cards and checks are too easy to trace, just take the cash. My clients appreciate that there's always takeaways. There's a handout from my presentation. Sometimes they even get a free book. My style is that people laugh quite a bit and accidentally learn quite a bit. And I think that's a great way to spend a day. Often when I deliver this seminar, I ask some of my clients, especially if it's a breakout session, can I use my overhead projector and transparencies when I start? And they go, what? Can I start out with my overhead projector and transparencies? Why? Because you got to see the youngest two generations just squirm in their seats. They go, oh my God. He's trapped in the 80s. And that's a lot of fun. I start with the overhead transparencies. The older generations are going, must be pretty important. He made a transparency with that.
Actually, his final statement about just being willing to open up and recognize that they're different than you are. And we actually had all 4 generations sitting at our table, so that was kind of cool.
And over the years, I've delivered more than 3,000 presentations. More than 90% of my work has been referral and repeat. So something must be working.
But I had a business mentor that told me, kid, if you owe the bank $50,000, you're in trouble. If you owe the bank $500,000, they're in trouble. So be careful when you pick your mentors.
The diversity of my team and recognizing how I need to communicate with each of those individuals differently and what I need to work with and how I need to work with them differently.
I think the value that I provide my clients is that I have 2 goals that I must meet. One is to make sure they look really good. The other is to make sure the content of my presentations is really good. And I really customize the content to have the greatest impact.
Change is kind of that surviving thing. Change happens overnight, it's immediate, it's situational, it's kind of mechanical. It's kind of like you have a new boss, there's a new policy, there's a new law, there's a new rule. The transition though is more personal, it's more internal, it's kind of the under the breath comments, it's the foot dragging, it's the apprehension, it's the anxiety, it's the frustration.
Audience engagement is critical to the success of the event, but also for the success of the individual. So what are some words that come to mind when you think of difficult people? Rude, argumentative, bad attitude, stubborn, disrespectful, loud, lazy, arrogant, conceited, mean, indecisive, non-listener, always right. Boss. Now we can say boss. We're not going to name names, but we can say boss, sure. So it's a lot of fun. It's very interactive. People stay engaged, and the time just flies.
Well, he was great. I saw him last year when he did the bullies, jerks, and stuff, and then this Generation 1's really great.
So he made us write 4 thank you notes. 1 to a family member, 1 to a friend, 1 to a co-worker, 1 to a volunteer. And then he asked this question: how close to the truth are they? Well, mine were very flattering, because I thought we were going to share them. Mine were very positive. Mine were almost lies.
I see you're speaking on Thursday on gender communication and dealing with difficult people. That's 2 different presentations, right? I'm going to an art opening. I live in New York. I wish I lived in New York. I'm in mourning for my life, all the above. Basic black, why do men wear it? His response, I thought it was navy blue.
If I was an actor, I'd get paid to play a role. Guess what? At work, we get paid to play a role. Let's say I didn't make my living giving speeches and seminars, but let's say I made my living as an actor. And let's say this was a Shakespearean play, and I'm an actor in that play, but I don't want to do it today. I don't want to put on the little booties. I don't want to put on the tights. I don't want to put on the frilly shirt. I don't want to bound across stage. You've got $50 tied up in your ticket, and I'm on stage doing this. To be or not to be, that's the question. Where art thou? Would you feel like you got your money's worth? No, you demand your money back. If I was an actor, I'd get paid to play a role. Guess what? At work, you get paid to play a role. You know all the characters. Just giving you all your lines, all your stage directions. Now all you have to do is play your part.
Kit Welchlin. Kit's a professional speaker on handling difficult people, and stress, time, and procrastination management.
Just wanted to give you a little insight on my pre-event routine. I arrived at the event early this morning, but last night when I came to town, I made sure I texted the meeting planner to let them know I was there and I would be there first thing in the morning. We've checked the sound, we've checked the AV, we've checked the lighting, and we also discussed the objectives for the meeting today. It's going to be a great event.
Kit was fantastic. Broke it down for us and yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it.
The points that he made, I think it's helpful. And I'm going to go back to it every day for the next 4 days and read my page.
It's hilarious. Hysterical. I love Kit.
Yeah.
Not just an entertaining show, but actually gave just a ton of practical advice too. So it's brilliant when you can throw in practical application mixed inside of a lot of entertainment and just keep people's focus. And it was awesome. It's the first time I'd seen him, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Great. He was hilarious.
It was actually entertaining and educational.
I just want to forewarn you, I'm going to make a few suggestions this afternoon. I'm not necessarily going to give you advice. I tend not to run around giving people advice, and the main reason I'm not going to give you advice is, well, frankly, Socrates was a man that went around giving people good advice, and I understand they poisoned him. So I was going to join you for lunch today, so I wasn't going to take any risks. Leadership is positional, but I also think it's personal. And he dedicated a chapter to this list called the 6 criteria of personal credibility. The 6 things we need to put in place to start our work relationships out most effectively. Now, they're in no particular order. According to his research, if you're lacking any one of these qualities, you're lacking credibility. 5 out of 6 really doesn't cut it. 4 out of 6, that's even worse. Take a look at that list. First one on that list is to consistently appear warm and friendly. What's the out-of-pocket expense of appearing warm and friendly? Nothing. It's free. I have no idea what it costs us if we're not. It's one of the 6 criteria of being credible as a human being. Key word on that one is consistently, because I don't know if you've ever worked with difficult people. Let's say you go back to work tomorrow and you're all warm and friendly. What do difficult people think? What do you want? What are you up to? Oh, did you go to one of those motivational speakers or something? That's what they'll say. And then Johnson says you need to express your intentions and motives, short-term plans, long-term goals. I'll call you at 10 o'clock, I'll stop by at 3 o'clock, and you do. So the majority of people find you to be trustworthy. You do what you say you're going to do. Now, appear warm and friendly, free. Express your intentions and motives, free. Do what you said you're going to do, free. And then Johnson says you also need to be an information source. What's pinned, pasted, posted on the wall, it's on the website. What qualified you for the job in the first place? Jobs redesigned, they provide you training to become competent again. To the point, you develop something called relevant expertise. That in certain areas of what you do, you know more about that than anybody else. And when people have a question about that, they seek you out for the answers rather than wasting their time talking to anyone else. And then the last on the list is dynamism. And dynamism is natural enthusiasm. Dynamism isn't that you're doing calisthenics and jumping jacks in between meetings and phone calls, but dynamism is when you walk in a room, the lights get a little bit brighter rather than a little bit dimmer. When you come to work, people are happy to see you rather than resenting the fact you showed up again today. And they're all free. But I have a question for you. It's not a trick question, it's a mathematical equation. Be careful with your answer. What's 3 times 3? Careful now. What's 3 times 3? 9. Thank you. The reason I'm so careful about that is not too long ago I had someone shout out 6, and man, that's hard to respond to. So 9's a great answer. What's 5 times 5? 25. You're awfully good at this. What's 6,842 times 3,875? That's a lot, isn't it? That's a lot. But if I gave you those numbers again and you all wrote them down, you could all give me the answer, couldn't you? Why? Because you know the formula. I bet 56 years on this. That's the formula. It's 3 times 3, it's 5 times 5. What I've noticed over the last 35 years, it's also 6,842 times 3,875. You take a look at somebody that's suffering or stumbling in their career right now, 1 or 2 of those missing. And if they could just put that in place, it'd be a lot easier for them and a lot easier for us having to work with them. And they're all free.
So that's what we call professional presence. But it's based on perception. And actually, it's just not one perception of you. There's actually 6 perceptions going on between each and every one of us. Who I think I am, who I believe you think I am, and then really who you think I am. And then from your side of the relationship, who you think you are, who you believe I think you are, and really who I think you are. So with a couple of 100 of us in the room, that's over 1,200 perceptions going on all at the same time, trying to figure out you buying into this, going to make that adjustment. A lot of smoke and mirrors when it comes to perception. But that's what gives us a chance to create a culture, a climate where we work, or recreate it just in how we interact with each other. 2,500 years ago, Aristotle would have called this ethos, your credibility, your trustworthiness. What do people think when they think of you? If your reputation precedes you, what is it? Today, we're going to call that the personal brand. Because you know that, because you understand that, because you can do that, how does your team benefit? How does your department benefit? How does the organization benefit? It's one thing to leave a great first impression, but we have opportunities dozens of times throughout the day to leave positive, lasting impressions. So how does a customer feel when they see that email from you? Do they look forward to reading it, or do they dread it? How do your coworkers feel when they see your name on caller ID? And are they looking forward to the conversation, or do they let it go into voicemail? But what is the feeling that your customers, coworkers, vendors, and suppliers have after they've interacted with you? Over the phone, face-to-face, by email, or by text messaging, do they feel informed? Do they feel reassured? Do they feel valued? Do they feel important? But what's that lasting impression? How do people feel after they've worked with you? Are you peppy? Are you positive? Are you realistic? Are you practical? Are you a pessimist? But what's your personality like day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year? And have we thought about that lately? Remember when you got the job, how excited you were, called your family, called your friends, said, I got the job, I got the job. You didn't know who you were going to work with. You didn't know what new skills you were going to develop. You didn't know what kind of obstacles you were going to need to overcome. Now today, we're reluctant to go to work. We're hesitant because there's some changes in the structure, changes in technologies and processes. You know what? We should be just as excited about going to work today as we were the first day, because we have so many more resources available to us. You know who to call, who's got your back, who has that information, that sits on that committee that can help you and your team reach their goals.
For the simple fact that this recipient consistently shows up, prepared to deliver, and clients are always satisfied with the results. As they say, the return on investment is beyond the investment. Is smart, talented, funny, relevant, and trustworthy. A colleague like we all will enjoy dealing with over the long haul. Kit Welchlin is a hard